Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good things. And I'm flying solo today. It's Friday. I tend to like to give everybody the day off on Friday, enjoy the weekend that's coming. But I know we still want to talk movies, so I'm here, and we're going to do that today. Now, listen, guys, we got a whole bunch of stuff that we are going to talk about today, and a lot of stuff I'm really excited to talk about today. And so we're going to dive right into our main topics. Now, how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? It's really rather simple. You see, you guys select our main topics by going to the website www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Oop, and I've got the wrong graphic up there. Sorry about that, guys. But you don't email me. Forget that graphic. Ignore the graphic. You saw nothing. You saw nothing. This is what happens when I do the show alone, guys. Anyway, you go to the website www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you get there, you'll see a form. Fill out the form and hit submit. And maybe you'll see your topic or question pop up on the John Campea Show as well. Okay, with that down and out of the way, let's dive right into it. And the first main topic today comes to us from Blue Jay, who writes, "Hey, John, Rob, and Ashley. Yeah, it's just me today. So we got a confirmation that Valkyrie is alive in Endgame thanks to the poster. But there's one character I've been thinking about, and that's whatever happened to Korg. Yeah, man. Whatever happened to Korg? Korg is one of those characters who just, like, the MCU every once in a while comes up with a character that's like a secondary or a third level character, and they drop it in that movie, and all of a sudden that secondary or third level character becomes like a fan favorite. Korg was absolutely one of my favorite things about Thor Ragnarok. I just love this character, and the fact that Taika Waititi did it and brought so much personality to it and all that kind of stuff, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Now, one of the interesting things is that, well, Korg wasn't around in Infinity War. The operating assumption is that he and Valkyrie, along with a number of other Asgardians, got away before Thanos killed everybody. That's been the operating assumption. But then, when they put out the Avenge the Fallen posters, you know, with the alive people and the dead people, Korg wasn't in either. I'm like, where's Korg? Where's Korg? Now, Ray, who does my graphics for me, last night he heard me talking about this, and he heard me talking about one of my favorite lines ever in the MCU was "piss off Ghost." So Ray put this together for me. Ray put this graphic, his own version of the Avenge the Fallen posters. Ray put together the "piss off Ghost" poster, which I absolutely loved and I adored. But anyway, getting back to Korg and where is he? There are a couple of operating theories here about where is Taika Waititi's Korg. Operating theory number one, he did get off the ship with Valkyrie, and he is still around. They just didn't put him in the posters. Okay, look, there are a few other secondary characters that are also not in posters. That's fine too. That's okay. So operating theory number one is that he got off the ship with Valkyrie. He's still alive. We didn't see his body crumpled anywhere at the beginning of Infinity War on Thor's ship. Therefore, I think it's pretty safe to assume he didn't die. Plus, he's not listed amongst the dead in the Avenge the Fallen posters. So there's that. Assumption number two is that he died during the dusting. That is one of the other operating assumptions, that he got away from the ship when Thanos attacked it, but later on when the snap happened, he died. So that's the second operating assumption here, and that's not bad either. The third operating assumption that some people have is that Korg did die on Thor's ship when Thanos attacked it, and you just didn't see the body. That's one of the that the same place that Loki died, that Heimdall died, Korg died on that ship, and that's where he is. And then the ship blew up, and Korg's lifeless body is floating around in space somewhere. That's one of the other operating assumptions at this point. Now, there are merits and detractors to all three of those theories. I will tell you which one I subscribe to and why. And out of all the where is Korg theories right now, my theory is he's alive. My theory is that he, number one, he survived the Thanos attack on Thor's ship. So number one, he survived that initial attack. He did get away with Valkyrie, and when the snap happened, he didn't die. Because I don't know why you don't put him in the Avenge the Fallen things there. That's just like another loss for Thor. But whatever. We also don't see him in the living poster, so that kind of counters that, doesn't it? But here's what I think. And I think he will make an appearance in Endgame, but he doesn't have to. Remember, there are MCU movies Nick Fury doesn't show up in. It is quite possible, and here's what my theory is right now. He survived Thanos' attack. He then survived Thanos' snap. I think Valkyrie's going to show up, and Korg had stayed with wherever they took the remaining surviving Asgardian refugees. That's my theory right now. So my theory is Korg survived the attack, then Korg survived the snap, and then he and Valkyrie took the surviving Asgardians somewhere. He stayed with the surviving Asgardians, so we're not going to see him in Endgame, and we're not going to see all the other Asgardians in Endgame. But Valkyrie comes looking for what happened. And she goes looking for Thor, and she finds Thor. That's my operating assumption. I have nothing to back that up with. I have no insider information. That's just me as a fan speculating. What do you guys think about where is Korg? Did he die on the ship? Did he die during the snap? Will he show up in Endgame? Jump down into the comment section below. I want to hear what your theories are about that. And again, don't ever forget, piss off Ghost. I completely love that. I love that so much. All right, let's move on to the second main topic today. And the second main topic today comes to us from Evelyn, who writes, "Hello, everyone. So did you guys watch the tweet posted by Josh Cooley, director of Toy Story 4, talking about Don Rickles and the role of Mr. Potato Head? All of his pieces may be replaceable, but his voice is not. Honored he signed on for Toy Story 4. Honored he's in Toy Story 4. Cry time. I'm so happy that in some way we will still have him one more time in that iconic role." All right. Thanks a lot for that. And yes, so for those of you who missed it, the director of Toy Story 4, Josh Cooley, he put out this tweet yesterday that confused some people because he put out a tweet basically just saying that, hey, Don Rickles is back. He's not replaceable. Don Rickles is doing the voice of Mr. Potato Head. Now, the reason that confused some people is, number one, Don Rickles passed away over 2 years ago, or about 2 years ago now. And the other was shortly after Don Rickles passed away, and what a comedic genius this dude was, but shortly after he passed away, the Hollywood Reporter ran this. This is from April 8th of 2017. Rickles was set to voice Mr. Potato Head in the upcoming fourth installment of the Pixar series, which is set to be co-directed by Lasseter. Not anymore. Yeah, no more John Lasseter there, ladies and gentlemen. He's gone now. So co-directed by John Lasseter and Josh Cooley. Now Josh Cooley is the only one directing it, for a 2019 release. Rickles, though, had not yet recorded new material. Get that. Rickles had not yet recorded new material for Toy Story 4, his rep confirmed to the Hollywood Reporter. Pixar has been doing rewrites on the film, and Rickles had not yet been called in to record his voice tracks for Mr. Potato Head's role in the fourth film. Okay, so we have this situation where Don Rickles was signed up to come and do the voice of Mr. Potato Head, but sadly, he never had a chance to actually get into the studio and record his dialogue because they were still, tightening up the script at the time. So how is he then appearing in this? Some people have been spreading a little bit of misinformation innocently, like not intentionally, saying, oh, Don Rickles must have gotten in and recorded it before he passed away. He didn't. So how are they doing it? Well, what the director then went on to explain in another article was that Rickles had signed up for Toy Story 4. And Rickles' family had reached out to Pixar and said, is there any way he can still be in Toy Story 4 if you use unused recordings of him from the other stuff? So the family actually asked if they could do that. So then what happens is Cooley goes on and he explains this. So we went through, 25 years of everything we didn't use for Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3, the theme parks, the ice capades, the video games, everything that he's recorded for Mr. Potato Head. And we were able to do that. And so I'm very honored that they asked us to do that. And I'm very honored that he's in the film. Nobody can replace him. So there you go, guys. Don Rickles is doing the voice of Mr. Potato Head. That is his voice. It's not somebody else imitating Don Rickles. And what they simply did was they went through, and it is weird to think about that, 25 years of Mr. Potato Head material from Toy Story, from the 3 movies, the theme parks. He does a lot of the voice stuff at the theme parks, the ice capades, video games, whatever. They were able to piece together enough unused footage. Because, I'm sure for every line that they used, there were probably 3 or 4 lines that they didn't use, and they were able to piece together him actually doing it. Now, some people may have a problem with that, and I understand that, and I understand why. For me personally, if the family was okay with it, then I think it's great. Because I know for me as an audience member, as I'm sitting there watching Toy Story 4, hearing Don Rickles actually doing the voice himself is going to be kind of special. Maybe not cry time, maybe it's not going to be cry time, but it's going to be special to hear that. So I'm glad the family asked them to use it. I'm glad they went through the effort, because it probably would have been easier just to get another voice actor who can kind of mimic Don Rickles' voice to just come in and read the lines they wanted. Instead, they said, nope, let's go through the hassle. Let's go through all the hassle, comb through all the other material, find stuff, and have Don Rickles in this film. I think it's great that they did that. What do you guys think? Do you think they just should have gone out and got another actor for it? Do you think they were going to be able to find good enough stuff from all the pre-recorded stuff? Jump down in the comment section and let me know what you think about this, guys. All right, let's move on now to the final main topic today. And the final main topic today comes to us from Mitchell, who writes, "Hey, John. Have you seen the new Chinese Avengers Endgame poster? I think it looks great. Plus, it has Valkyrie. Perhaps more confirmation that she makes an appearance." All right, thanks a lot for the question, Mitchell. And yes, a brand new 2 big things came out about Avengers Endgame in China. Number 1, this new poster, and we'll talk about this poster in a second. I have some problems with it, and I think it's great, and I have some problems with it, and I think it's great. So we'll talk about that in a second. Anyway. So one of the big things that came out was that in China, Avengers Endgame is not going to open on April 26th. It's going to open on April 24th. So it's actually going to open a couple of days earlier in China than it's going to open here, which, hey, good for the Chinese movie fans, because quite often they have to wait a long time for movies to hit there that have already opened here. Right? Like, I think the first Deadpool just opened sometime this past year. So sometimes they have to wait a long time. So they're going to get it actually a couple of days early. Now, what this has everybody really excited about at this point, and what everybody seems to be talking about at this point, is the notion of worldwide opening weekend box office. Everybody's freaking out about this. Like, I'm getting tweets and messages from everybody saying, John, did you hear now with Endgame opening in China early, it's going to be the same technical opening weekend, that its worldwide opening weekend could be $800 million. Can you imagine that record? I'll be honest with you. It's meaningless. It's a meaningless record. It means nothing. I really don't care about its global opening weekend. Like, remember, the Captain Marvel thing came out and it made like 600 something million. I'm like, okay, that's nice. That's good. Good for it. But ultimately, it doesn't mean that much. The reason worldwide opening weekend means nothing is because there's no constant. Like, when movies have opening weekend, and we just talk about the regular opening weekend box office, it's all an even playing field because it's only measuring the North American opening release, because it opens in North America at the same date, right? So you can compare it. But every movie opens in different countries at different times, and some movies will open in 5 countries on one weekend, some movies will open in 25 countries in one weekend, some movies will open in 35 countries in one weekend, the odd movie will open globally on one weekend, some movies will open, their first release will be in one country on one date, and their final release date in another country will be like 5 months after. So this whole notion of global, I know it's fun to talk about, and I know it's this big, impressive number, but talking about global, worldwide release numbers, it's not impressive because there's nothing comparable to it. Like, yay, movie X opened to 700 million worldwide, but compared to what? What are we comparing that to? Because none of the other movies opened in the exact same countries and the exact number of territories on the exact same weekend. Therefore, while it's kind of amazing to say, oh my God, you know, Avengers Endgame could open to 800 million worldwide. That's impressive sounding. But ultimately, it's kind of meaningless because there's no comparison. No other movie opens on the exact same date in the exact same number of territories to come up with that result. And unless you can do that, it's kind of meaningless. Now, what's more interesting to me is what is its domestic opening weekend going to be, because that becomes an apples to apples comparison, right? That becomes a comparison we can talk about. The worldwide number is great, and that's awesome, but ultimately it doesn't mean much because you can't compare it to anything. So, yay, 800 million, yay, but ultimately it doesn't mean much. What means a lot more to me is the domestic opening weekend box office and the final worldwide total. Those are the two numbers that mean something. Domestic opening weekend and final worldwide total. Those are the numbers I'm looking forward to, and you better believe both of those numbers are going to be damn impressive. Now, with that being said, let's now talk about this poster. Let me talk about first the thing that I love about this poster, this new Chinese poster that you guys have seen. It's what the artistic message of the poster is. You've got your surviving Avengers up top, and you've got those who need to be avenged, the dead, done in this shadowy silhouette kind of motif. To me, and again, you have Thanos just kind of this hovering background. The posters still have not really given much away as far as how involved will Thanos actually be in this movie. They've just kind of had him as this shadowy figure, almost like what he did in Infinity War is looming over them. Or he's in a lot of Endgame. I don't know. I've let you guys know that my starting assumption going into this movie is that Thanos actually doesn't play a big major role. Now, he very well may. There's a high probability that he does. I'm just saying my guess right now, my very, armchair quarterback guess is that he doesn't play that big of a role, but rather what he did plays a big role. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, the artistic target of this poster I love. It's beautiful. The idea of those who survived and those who have fallen in these shadowy silhouette kind of things versus those who survived in the color and all that kind of stuff. It's great. I love the artistic impression of the poster. On that level, I think the poster is great. But, and you guys know where I'm going with this, why do you have to have 25 people on a poster? Right? That's the thing that gets me, like even with the Star Wars, like the Force Awakens poster, the most recent Star Wars Episode 9 art, it's like, it's just, bleh, they just vomit up every single character. Now there's an artistic consistency here, and I grant you that. But this poster, it didn't have to have Nebula on it. I like Nebula, but the poster doesn't need to have Nebula on it. I love Wong. Wong didn't need to be on the poster. I like Valkyrie a lot, but Valkyrie doesn't need to be on the poster. I love Okoye, but Okoye doesn't need to be on the poster. I love Don Cheadle as War Machine. Don Cheadle and War Machine didn't need to be on the poster. Now, I'll say Ant-Man does because he played a pretty key role. It looks like he plays a very key role in this film, so I'll give it that. But like right off the top of my head, there's like 5 or 6 characters off the top of my head. I'm like, you could have just removed them and it wouldn't have felt so overly busy of a poster. You know what I mean? Look, at the end of the day, the artistic merit of what they're going for and the imagery of the poster, I give it full marks for that. And because of that, I like the poster. But I would freaking love this poster if they just axed about 5 or 6 characters off it. Like, you can even keep all the dark silhouettes on the bottom because you don't even see their faces. It's just the dark silhouettes of those that have fallen. I dig that. But on the top part, I still feel like you could have axed like 5 or 6 and it would have been a much better looking poster. Still, artistic merit's there. I think it's great, and I enjoy the poster, and I think it's wonderful. Just why this thing that everybody who even walks through a frame once, they got to be on the poster too. Hey, that coffee girl from scene 17.5 who delivered the coffee to Pepper Potts, put her on the poster. Put her on the poster. Like, I hate that trend. But full marks for the artistic direction of what it was going. So I'll give it that. So anyway, let me ask you guys the question then. What do you guys think about this Chinese poster for Endgame? I think the artistic direction is great. And also, what is it important to you when you hear these numbers about worldwide opening weekend? Let me try that again. Opening weekend box office. Do you think I'm underplaying it? Like, hey, look, I'm all for Marvel's success, but It's not a big deal to me, but maybe it is to you. Maybe you're thinking of a couple of things that I'm overlooking right now. Anyway, jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that stuff down and out of the way, we're going to use the remainder of the show to just take live questions from you guys. You guys have been sending in a bunch of live questions via the super chat, and we're going to get to those in just a second. But before we do, you know, there's a bunch of other things going on in the world of movies and entertainment and stuff like that, things that we don't often have time to address in full as main topics on the show, but I want to make sure you guys are caught up to date with everything going on, so this is today's segment of the Movie News Feed. Check it out. First up, Sony Pictures has struck a deal to join its streaming service, Crackle, with Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. The deal will merge Crackle with Popcorn Flicks and other streaming services under their new branding, Crackle Plus. How original. From Variety, CSS Entertainment will own the majority of the new company, and Sony will in turn receive 4 million 5-year warrants to purchase Class A common stock of CSS Entertainment at various price points. The companies didn't disclose any further financial details of the arrangement. Sony Pictures Television Chief Digital Officer Eric Berger, who had previously been running Crackle, is expected to leave the company once the deal closes. Sony Pictures Television Chairman Mike Hopkins and CSS Entertainment Chairman and CEO Bill Rohana both described the partnership as a way to better take advantage of the opportunity of ad-supported video. Sony will contribute Crackle's US brand, its user base, and its advertising business to the joint venture. Sony Entertainment's new media services will provide the back-end tech for the new joint venture, and Sony Pictures Television is also licensing movies and TV shows from the Sony Pictures catalog to Crackle Plus. CSS Entertainment will contribute its own ad-supported video service, Popcorn Flick, Truly, Popcorn Flicks Kids, Popcorn Flicks Comedy, Fright Picks, and Espanol Flicks, as well as the subscription video service company PivotShare. Next up, Shazam is right around the corner from its release date, and playing the movie's villain, Dr. Sivana, is Mark Strong. This, however, is Strong's second go in a DC superhero movie. Back in 2011, he played alongside Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern as Sinestro, the leader of the Green Lantern Corps, and would-be villain in a sequel that, well, never happened. From Cinema Blend, the actor is still a bit upset that the sequel to Green Lantern was never made. Strong recently lamented in an interview, "I love Sinestro because I always thought if we can really manifest that guy, I'll look for that guy as he is in the comics. That would just be insane. I love the fact that he looked the way he did, and I really enjoyed it. And it was such a shame to me that the movie didn't kick in, you know? Because I thought that part was great." If a Green Lantern sequel had happened, we almost certainly would have seen Green Lantern's greatest enemy, Sinestro, take center stage. Plans for a Green Lantern movie within the DC Cinematic Universe have been announced, but little to no information has been released about it. Mark Strong gets his second shot as a supervillain in DC in Shazam, hitting theaters on April 5th. Next up, California State Senator Connie Leva worked with SAG and AFTRA acting unions to introduce SB 564 legislation to ban the creation and dissemination of non-consensual digitally created sex scenes and nude performances. This legislation touches on two key union priorities: enhancing performers' protections when they are involved in sex scenes and their rights to their digital performances. In addition, this legislation will give Californians the right to sue a bad actor who creates deep fake pornography or fake sex tapes. The legislation covers the use of technology to create motion pictures that depicts an individual in a realistic sex act or in the nude. Digitization includes depicting the nude body parts of another human being as being those of the individual or imposing nude body parts onto that individual. If the bill is passed, a judge may award damages for lost wages, reputational harm, and emotional harm damages. In addition, the plaintiff may elect to receive statutory damages, which a judge may set at upwards of $500,000. Next up, Broad City is coming to an end after 5 seasons on Comedy Central, and series creator and co-star Ilana Glazer has her next project lined up. From Deadline, Glazer will be starring in a horror film she co-wrote for A24 Films entitled False Positive. Pierce Brosnan, as well as Justin Theroux, will be co-starring in the film. John Lee, who co-wrote, will be directing the film, which is set to start filming April 1st in New York City. And finally, John Carpenter has had a long and successful career directing films such as Halloween, Escape from New York, Assault on Precinct 13, Big Trouble in Little China, The Fog, The Thing, Starman, and They Live. From The Hollywood Reporter, the director will be honored by the French Directors Guild with this year's Golden Coach Prize during the Directors Fortnight section in Cannes Film Festival. Martin Scorsese himself took the honor last year. Werner Herzog, Gia Janke, John Campea, Jim Jarmusch, Clint Eastwood, and Alain Resnassis are among the other directors honored since the prize was created in 2002. This year's Cannes Film Festival runs from May 14th to the 25th. And that'll do it for this installment of the Movie News Feed. And now you are all caught up on all the other stuff going on in the world of movies. So thank you, and thank you to fact checker Jonathan, who's now producing the Movie News Feed stuff. He's doing a great job with that. All right, guys, with that down and out of the way, let's now take the rest of the day and just take live questions. So let's jump into it here. And the first question we're going to take today comes to us from Charles A., who writes, Thanos studying Avengers would explain how he knew about Tony and also how to neutralize Vision by stabbing him and not let him phase his matter. Yeah, so that's a topic that's come up a couple times, Charles. People ask me, wait a minute, how did Thanos know who Tony was, like in Infinity War, right? So what I've always said is, well, look, Thanos has been aware of the Avengers since the end of the first Avengers movie. Remember, his little henchman comes to him, to fight, to challenge them is to court death. So he knows who they are, right? Any smart guy who knows he's going to be heading into a conflict with a bunch of people, he studies his opponents. So yes, he knew who Tony was, but he also knew who Thor was. He knows who Dr. Banner is. He knew Vision. He knew all of them. Believe me, he watched the film, right? To put it in football terms, he watched the film on them. He knew everything about them. He knew what to do, and that was part of it. So yes, it also explains a lot of other things, knowing that he studied them in advance of going there. Dan Ketchum writes, does comic sales even matter to Marvel and DC? Well, yes, because look, Marvel is still primarily a comic book company. They have an entertainment movie division, yes, as does DC, but they're still separate companies. Like they're different entities that look after different things, and it matters to them. It matters to them. So yes, absolutely it does. I mean, at the end of the day, do comics generate the kinds of money that the movies do? No, but they're still a standalone business and they still care about it, and that's their root. So I'm sure they still care about it. Jonathan Teft writes, who decides what trailers play before a movie, the theater or the studios that made the movie? It's not the studios. Like, the studios can request movies be played in front of certain things. Ultimately, it comes down to the theaters. But, and sometimes some movies, they'll say, okay, we're going to give you this movie to play in the theater, but you've got to play this one trailer. But for the most part, it's the theaters. The real people to ask are the people at the individual movie theaters, because probably each individual movie theater chain will have different sets of criteria. But generally speaking, with lots of exceptions, it's the theaters. Okay, and who's willing to pay to put the trailers up there? All right, Ben Hayusa writes, saw Dumbo last night, enjoyed it a lot. It's fun, charming, and has heart. Tim Burton did a great job on this movie. Second favorite film of his next to the 89 Batman. I was supposed to go see Dumbo last night. Ann and I were going to go see it. However, we had our tickets and everything. But Ann's birthday week, we're celebrating Ann's birthday this weekend. And we got to make sure she's okay. And she came home from work early yesterday sick. So we decided, you know what, let's just stay home. You stay under a blanket. And, you know, I'll order dinner and we'll just stay in and you relax, because we got to make sure she's up for her birthday festivities coming this weekend, right? So I didn't get a chance to see it. I'm hearing mixed things about it. You know what? I haven't looked up a Rotten Tomato thing on here. So I was like, Dumbo, Rotten Tomatoes. What are they saying? Right now, it's got a 52%. So not great. Not great. That means half the critics like it and half don't. So there you go. You obviously been following the half of you like it. I am going to go see it because Ann wants to see it really badly. So I'm glad to hear that you liked it, man. All right, Steve Mina writes, Nolan or Tarantino better film record? I'm going to go Nolan, because Nolan's record is also much more diverse than Tarantino's. Like, my one, if you could call it criticism, my one critique, let's say, my one piece of constructive criticism about Quentin Tarantino films is that within 5 seconds of watching any clip from any Tarantino film, you immediately know it's a Tarantino film. They all have a very similar feel, right? They all have a very, very similar feel. Even if one's a Western and one's, you know, a heist movie, they have a very similar feel. You know instantly that you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie, even if you've never heard of that one. Nolan's more diverse. Like, he'll go sci-fi, then superhero, and then, you know, a murder, like a serial killer thing and Insomnia. And then he'll do like something really wacky like Memento. And then he'll do, like, so for those reasons more, like Tarantino, this is not me casting shade on Tarantino. His films are great. I cannot wait for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But yeah, overall, I'll give the nod to Nolan. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, is there a movie franchise other than the MCU with a better track record than the Rocky Creed franchise? 8 movies in the series, and only one is widely considered bad, Rocky 5. Yeah, you're right. The Rocky one, but not all the Rocky films are widely loved. But you are right, there's only one that is widely panned, and that's Rocky 5. And for very good reason, it gets a lot of panning. But yeah, there are several franchises with better track records. Toy Story has a better track record. Star Wars clearly has a better track record. When you're talking about social influence, longevity, financial success, pop cultural influence, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you could even make an argument, something like The Matrix had a better track record. I mean, it all comes down to how are you defining that, right? Because there's 1,000 different ways you could define better track record. By what criteria? Because when you could say what track record and you can have an idea about what that means, but 1,000 other people can have 1,000 other ideas. So I'll generally say yes, there are many franchises that have a better track record. The Godfather has a better track record than the Rocky films. But again, that all depends on your definition of track record. Because if you only want to focus on a couple of pieces of criteria, then maybe Rocky comes out ahead. If you want to focus on a couple of other pieces of criteria, maybe something else comes ahead. But in general, I'll say, yeah, there are several film franchises, in my opinion. The Rocky franchise is great, and I loved Creed 2, by the way. I know some people are iffy on Creed 2, and certainly the first Creed was better than the second one, but I actually quite like Creed 2. I thought it was really good. Anyway, RJ Technovine writes, won't be ashamed to cry if I see Cap Tony Manhug. I'm telling you, RJT, there's going to be a lot of guys sitting in the theaters going, yeah, man. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that in the theater. There's going to be a lot of bro tears. A lot of bro tears coming out when Cap and Tony finally hug it out. That'll be there. All right, let's see. Amin writes, if only 2 of the 6 OG 6 survive, which 2 will it be? So I'm assuming we're talking about not the original Toy Story lineup. I assume you're talking about Endgame. If only 2 survive, well, they're all going to be there. I mean, right? We already know Black Widow's getting a movie. So there's one. There's one automatic. And we know, well, no, Vision's not one of the original, but Black Widow is one of the original. Something tells me Hawkeye. So yeah, I'll go, if only 2 survive, Hawkeye, but I kind of believe they're all going to survive one way or the other. I mean, it's very possible several could die, but I'm kind of just a little bit leaning towards that they all live. Chad's Big Huge Geek Commentary writes, over under 20%. Warner Brothers drops the first It 2 trailer in front of Pet Sematary 5 months to go. That's a good thought. You know, 20% is a real low number, so I'll take the over on that. It is a nice thought because that's the demographic you're going for, right? The audience that's going to go see Pet Sematary, that's the audience that is most likely to buy tickets to it, so you might want to drop a trailer there. Now, again, though, I always preface it with this. Trailers don't debut in front of movies anymore. Trailers debut online, right? Like, gone are the days that we used to, like, people would run out and buy tickets to movies just because the Phantom Menace trailer was going to play in front of it, because you couldn't just hop online and watch the Phantom Menace trailer. So people would go buy tickets to movies, find out, they'd go to the box office, which movie are you playing that's going to show the Phantom Menace trailer? And they'd tell them, they buy a ticket to it, they would go in, watch the trailer, and then leave. It was the craziest thing. We've never seen that really replicated on a big grand scale. But gone are those days, right? 90% of the time now, trailers drop online before they play in front of a movie. So it's almost kind of a moot discussion, but in theory, that does make a lot of sense, Chad. So I'll take the over 20% on that. Stephen Mena writes, over under 40%, in the next 25 years, there will be a DCEU X-Men film. Oh, a DCU and X-Men film in the next 25 years? Oh, I don't know. I mean, look, 6 years from now is an eternity. Everything could be different 6 years from now. Another 5 years after that, everything could be completely different again. 5 years after that, everything could be completely different again. Like, you might as well say, in movie terms, if you're asking in the next 25 years, you might as well be asking in the next 2,500 years. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, because that is literally an eternity from where we are right now. So, in light of eternity, I'll give it an over 40% chance. In light of eternity, I'll give it an over 40% chance. Let's see. Abraham Asif writes, Endgame post-credits scene, Pena summing up all 22 films. Dude, I still believe it would have been the greatest stroke of marketing genius had Marvel put together a 5-minute Michael Pena as Luis YouTube video of him going, Okay. So we start with Tony Stark, right? And only the way that was a terrible Michael Pena impersonation, by the way. And him, and you release that telling the 10-year story of the MCU in 5 minutes, the way Luis tells stories, and you put that online. Forget Gangnam Style. It would have become the #1 YouTube video of all time, and the greatest piece of marketing ever. I honestly do not know why they didn't do that. You don't put it in theaters, you were just going to drop this here, poof, and drop this little Michael Pena 5-minute video as Luis explaining the 10-year story of thing. That thing, you wouldn't have to put on any press announcements about it, just very quietly in the middle of the night, let's just drop this in here, boop. Within 48 hours, it would become the #1 video on YouTube in the history of the platform. And it would have been hilarious, and people loved it. I still don't know why they didn't do it. The only thing I can imagine about why they didn't do it is maybe they didn't want to be too funny going into the movie, I guess. But to me, it still would have been the greatest piece of marketing thing ever. Jonathan Teft writes, thoughts on the TV show MASH? It's my favorite show of all time. I think it did a great job of being much more than just a hilarious sitcom. The show got real and deep. Yeah, it was kind of before my time, at least. Let's see here. Let me see, what years did it run? Okay, so that show literally debuted before I was born, but it ran 11 seasons. Anyway, when I was a kid, I would watch a bunch of the old MASH reruns. And you were right, it was funny, but it also did get very real. Like, it was, I think the first big show like that where the main characters died. And that was kind of different at the time. And which made sense, they were in a war. You were doing a comedy in a war. But it did get very real. And I remember for a long time, the final episode of MASH in 1983 was the single largest watched television show in history. I mean, not anymore, but there was a long period of time where I think that the series finale of MASH was it. It was the biggest most watched television show on U.S. markets in history. It was big, it was influential, and everybody forgets that there was a brilliant comedy movie before the TV show. There was MASH, the movie, with an incredible cast. Kiefer Sutherland's in that, by the way. Not Kiefer Sutherland, Donald Sutherland, Kiefer's dad. A little bit before Kiefer's time. But so Donald Sutherland was in that. Anyway, and that was a great movie, and that, MASH, then became a spin-off TV series of the movie. A lot of people forget about that. But anyway, yeah, I think that might have been the first time, Jonathan, anybody's ever asked about MASH on this show, but I'm glad it's one of the greats all time, and one of the most beloved all-time TV shows, too. All right, Santez Henderson writes, been listening to the running song from Creed 2. I'm ready for anything that gets in my way now. That is one of the great things about all Rocky movies, is the training music, right? It's whether it's Hearts on Fire. Remember that one? I think it was Rocky 4. Anyway, whenever there's training montages going on, it's always great stuff. And they went more hip hop for the Creed 2 one. But yep, it's the kind of movie that just makes you want to run out and do sit-ups. And not a lot makes me want to run out and do sit-ups. Let's see. Charles A writes, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 had some adult stuff too. Brothel and filicide. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, but anyway. Oh yeah, some Marvel stuff has some adult innuendo. As a matter of fact, I remember the first time I really noticed it. Like, there's always been adult innuendo in stuff. They'll be very subtle with it. But in the first Guardians movie, one of my favorite lines for the first Guardians movie was when they're going around the Milano in the ship, Star-Lord's ship, and he's like, yeah, I've done a lot of stuff in here. I mean, man, if you turned on a black light in here, and we all get what the implication of that is, right? And that's a very adult themed thing, but the one that would go over a lot of kids' heads. But the MCU's had a lot of that. So yeah, and I expect to see more. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, one of my dreams is to go to New Zealand. Oh, that would be great. And visit the Shire. Do you have any similar big trips you dream of making? That would be amazing. Because apparently it's still there. Apparently they preserved, if I'm not mistaken, I think they preserved that site where Peter Jackson went and filmed The Lord of the Rings, The Shire. It's all still there. Oh my God, I would love to go see it. I would love to go see that. As far as big movie trips, not really. Not really. Living in LA has kind of desensitized me to that a little bit, because everywhere I go in LA, it's like, oh, that's where they shot that one scene in that movie. Oh, and that's where, hey, the show I was watching last week shot in front of this building. And I remember, as a matter of fact, watching like the opening of Entourage, the opening credits of Entourage, drove by right in front of my building, like right in front of where I lived. As they're driving down the street, it's like, oh, that's where I live. So I've kind of become a little bit desensitized living here to the notion of seeing a place that was in a movie. But the Shire in New Zealand, which is a place I have never been, that would definitely rank way up there on my list, way up there. Ike Moore writes, I've had this debate with people. Do you guys think Tony has the most interesting character development in the MCU? Look, I've been very, very forthright about this. To me, my favorite character, bar none by a mile, is Captain America. He is not anywhere near my favorite character in the comics, nowhere near it. I wouldn't even put Captain America in my top 30 of favorite comic book characters. But in the MCU, my favorite character. But yep, I'm going to agree. The most interesting character development has been Tony's. Tony has been, and I remember talking to Robert Downey Jr. about this, and I kind of asked him one time, I said, look, it really seems to me like Tony's a little bit different of a character every time we see him because of these huge moments, these huge things that happen to him. Traumatic stuff, large scale stuff. You would think that it would have an impact on somebody. And I feel like every time we see Tony, you evolve him a little bit. And he said to me, he said, that's exactly what I've been doing, because I've had big things happen in my life, Robert said. And I find as I look back over the years, oh yeah, like in 1995, I was a little bit different of a person than I was in 1990. And in 2008, I was a little bit of a different person than I was in 1995. And today I'm a little bit different of a person than then because a lot of things happen. He said, so it only makes sense that we would bring that to the characters we portray, especially when it's somebody like Tony, who has these ridiculously earth-shattering experiences happening. So they took him through, pompous weapons manufacturer, and he maintains a bit of that throughout. But then it gets layered with the PTSD stuff, with the changing his whole worldview as a result of traumatic things that have happened to him, then changing them back. And then it has been the way they have handled the character development of Tony Stark is one of the best things they've done in the MCU. Now, Tony's not my favorite character, but yeah, the character development and the evolution of the character has been very well done. Very well done. All right, Murray Reich writes, one of the things that CinemaCon should bring up is a place to store your popcorn without spilling, just like soda, first world problems. That would be, yeah, because that is one of the things, right? You go into movie theaters and there's, either on the seat in front of you, on the back of the seat in front of you, or in your armrest is a place to put your soda. There's no real place to put your popcorn. That's just something you got to hold on your lap. But whether it's dine-in theaters like AMC Dine-Ins or Landmark has some of this stuff now, Alamo Drafthouse, more and more theaters are getting tables in front of you, these little tables you can put in front of you. And I find those to be incredibly useful. Incredibly useful. I love those things when they have that. Because, yeah, oftentimes here's what always happens to me. I get a large bag of popcorn, right? Inevitably, I eat about 1/3 of it, and then I'm done. Like, well, John, why don't you get a smaller popcorn? See, I always think that, but because of my AMC stubs, I get it. It gets upgraded to large for free anyway. But anyway, so I get this large bag of popcorn. Inevitably, I eat about 1/3 of it. And then where do I put it? Do I put it under my chair? Do I just sit there awkwardly holding it on my lap? And if I put it under my chair, inevitably my feet usually kick it and spills the popcorn out, and then I feel guilty for the mess that I made and blah, blah, blah. It would be good if they came up with something, although it's a difficult nut to crack. That is a hard one to crack. Chad's big, huge geek commentary writes, it's not just Marvel. We know almost none of Disney's plans post-2019. It's true. Comic-Con and D23 are going to be amazing. Yeah, because when you think about it, look, we know Benioff and Weiss are doing something Star Wars. We know we got The Mandalorian coming. We know Rian Johnson's working on something. There's so much we don't know about Star Wars after this year. And we know next to nothing about Marvel after this year. And it's true, Chad. You're putting that in perspective. I never really thought about it that way. It's not just Marvel that has a lot of question marks on it going forward. It's almost all of Disney. You're right. I think not as much Comic-Con, but I think D23 is going to be loaded this year from stuff. I might actually need to go to D23 this year because it looks like they're just going to be letting loose so much stuff. Murray writes, by the way, in yesterday's The John Campea Show, Rob mentioned the Japanese Spider-Man show. It's funny because I first saw that show in an Honest trailer video just recently. Yeah, so we were talking, that whole thing came up because I'm like, wait a minute, am I imagining things, or did I once see a Godzilla thing where Godzilla teams up with a giant Spider-Man to take on another big monster, and Godzilla was like doing martial arts moves and stuff like that. And Rob pointed out, no, that absolutely did happen, but it happened in this Japanese Spider-Man show. I didn't even know about it. I know they did a lot of weird stuff with Spider-Man, but I didn't even realize that. And that's funny that you saw that in an Honest trailer just before we did that. All right, Giovanni Seek writes, quote, you come from a family of thieves, of butchers. Oh, sorry, let me try to do my best Mickey Rourke here. You come from a family of thieves, of butchers. That's a terrible Mickey Rourke in that movie. Anyway, and like all guilty men, you rewrite your own history. That's Mickey Rourke in Iron Man 2. Not a lot of good scenes in Iron Man 2, but some killer lines like that one. That one was a good one. All right, AFC writes, do you think Thanos has been on his own since the snap? Yeah, I do. I mean, let's look at it this way. All of his children are dead, except for one, and that one wants to kill him, and that's Nebula. He killed Gamora. Black Order all died. He's alone. Yeah, I'm guessing he went off on his own to retire, and he's been living by himself. That's my guess. Maybe totally wrong, but I'm going to guess. I think you're right, AFC. Okay. Daryl Best Wadley just sends a super chat. Thank you, Daryl. Daniel Joseph writes, apologies if this has been covered. If Thanos' gauntlet is damaged / destroyed, does that mean that the stones are damaged, destroyed too? That's a good question. We've talked a lot about what is the functioning status of the gauntlet right now. And all we know for sure is that the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige have said, as a result of the snap, the gauntlet is, in their words, permanently damaged. Now, permanently damaged to what degree? Is it 100% permanently damaged? Is it 90% permanently damaged? All that kind of stuff. But then that raises the next level of the question. Well, what about the stones themselves? Were they themselves also damaged? Good questions, maybe, maybe not. But the problem, it almost becomes a moot point though, right? Because the problem is that the gauntlet is the mechanism made that you could harness the stones. Remember, there's never in the universe been somebody that could hold two stones at once. Very, very few beings of power could even hold one Infinity Stone. Now, remember, even Star-Lord, who was half celestial, he was only able to hold on to the Power Stone for a limited amount of time. I mean, Ronan the Accuser was able to wield one, but even Star-Lord could only hold one for a certain period of time. And as Ma said, no being has ever had the might, nay, the nobility to wield not one, but two Infinity Stones. And the gauntlet kind of became that mechanism by which he could harness and wield all the stones. Therefore, if the gauntlet itself is damaged, do the stones at that point kind of become useless? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. My guess is that the stones themselves also became damaged. but I just barely lean towards that. It's very possible there's some other explanation, but it's a good question, Daniel. Just one of the things that we're hopefully going to get answered once we get into Endgame, now less than 1 month away. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, I work in a restaurant that I help open at 6 a.m. Working in restaurants is tough, dude. Anyway, for a while now, I've been playing the Spider-Verse soundtrack on the speakers. What's up, Danger? In the kitchen, and everyone loves it. It helps wake everyone up. Dude, it is a great soundtrack. It's a wonderful, I can literally sit, now, even the best of soundtracks, there'll be a few tracks that I skip. But the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack, I will literally just start playing that and listen to it all the way through. I love that soundtrack. It's fantastic. And it makes me think about the movie, and they tie in well with the movie itself. It's just a wonderful blood pumping. Like, there are a few songs I listen to regularly when I get into the shower, because I've got a Google Home in my bathroom. So I just say, I can't say too loud because I got a Google Home right here. I say, hey Google, play What Are You Going to Do When You're Not Saving the World by Hans Zimmer. That's the Man of Steel Superman theme. And I listen to that as I shower. Or I'll say, play Pray For Me by The Weeknd. And they'll play Pray For Me from Black Panther. And I'll get all pumped up to that. But often I'll just get in the shower and say, play the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack. And it'll just play it. And I'll just jam out in the shower to that. So, yep, great soundtrack, Jonathan. All right, let's see here. Seal the Deal writes, I just want to send my love/support with a super chat. By the way, I'm on DEFCON 1 to buy my Endgame tickets. They're going to sell fast. Bring the filthy. Thank you so much, Seal the Deal. And you're right, man. Actually, even yesterday on the John Campea Show companion video I did yesterday, that was one of our big topics, was tickets for Endgame. As the growth, the popularity, and the awareness amongst average film fans grows of buying tickets in advance online with your phones and not having to go to the theater and line up at a box office to buy them. You know, that's the reason we see whenever a new record gets broken about most advanced ticket sales, I always say, okay, that's good, but it doesn't mean a hell of a lot because more and more people today are buying their tickets in advance. So we're going to see this record of advanced ticket sales get broken a lot. We're going to see this record get broken a lot over the next year or two. But that also adds to the trickiness of getting your tickets for opening night. Like if you're hoping to see like one of the first screenings that Thursday night, 7 p.m., it's tough because now these tickets are not selling out in the first couple hours. They're selling out in like 10 minutes because more and more people know, oh, I can just hop on my phone and order my tickets. Boom, bought, and now you're out of luck. And it's becoming bigger. So yes, we are all sealed the deal on DEFCON 1 when it comes to getting those Endgame tickets. All right, Volodymyr Yusov writes, have you seen the Magicians TV show on Sci-Fi? No, I hear a bunch about it, but I've never seen it. Speaking of shows on Sci-Fi, can anybody explain it? I've been watching, because you guys told me to, I've been watching The Expanse. Really good show. Really good show. Can somebody explain to me, send me an email to john@thejohncampeashow.com if anybody's got an explanation or a link to an article that explains why did Sci-Fi let that series go? Because it's a really good series, speaking of Sci-Fi. But no, I have not had a chance to watch The Magicians yet. All right, John McKendry writes, do you think Endgame could be the cap that signals the downward trend in superhero movies' popularity, i.e. fads like alien invasion, natural disaster? Nah. Look, again, we have, ever since 2008, it's constantly, do you think now we're getting superhero movie fatigue? Then 3 months later, do you think now we're getting superhero movie fatigue? Then 4 months later, how about now? Now are we getting superhero movie fatigue? And blah, blah, and just on and on. Look, as long as the movies are good and people enjoy them, there's no such thing as superhero movie fatigue. The fatigue will set in when the quality starts to drop. But as Spider-Man Far From Home comes out and is killer great, guess what? That movie's going to make $800, $900, $1 billion. And if that's great, then more people are going to see the next one and the next one. Shazam is wonderful. Now, Shazam's not going to make $1 billion because it's a very little known character. It's going more for family friendly. DC is still fighting a little bit of an uphill PR battle, but it's going to be great. And it is great, by the way. I've seen Shazam and it's fabulous. Make sure you guys get out and see it because it's awesome. Anyway, as long as the movies are good and crowd pleasing and people enjoy going to see them, nah, I don't think Endgame caps anything. Now, does that mean we're going to get another $2 billion superhero movie after Endgame anytime soon? Maybe, maybe not. But it really doesn't mean it's crested. Now it's the decline. No, I don't think so. Not yet. Not yet. If anything, Endgame is just going to perpetuate the comic book movies because people are going to have such a good time at it. Hopefully. All right. Adam Martinez writes, I hope we get a Joker trailer on April 1st. April 1st would be kind of a symbolic day. April Fool's Day would be kind of a symbolic day to drop that first trailer. I agree. That would be funny. Alan Gonzalez writes, super Marvel fan here, but I want a bang trailer. I want a bang trailer too. I still believe we're going to get one on April 1st or April 2nd or April 3rd. I still believe we're going to get one. No one's told me that. No insider information. That's just me as a fan speculating. I know there are others saying there's no more trailers coming. I get that, and maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. I still think we're going to get that, and I want it. I want it. All right, Robert Johnson writes, finally getting around to watching Punisher Season 2. What's the deal with Sergeant Mahoney? He seems to have a problem with Punisher, but not Daredevil. Okay, I haven't seen Punisher Season 2 yet. For all my hype and all that I talked about, oh man, can't wait for Punisher Season 2, blah, 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 and then it dropped, and I never got around to watching it. I'm so far behind. I've got such a long list of things I need to watch. The thing is, I've been promising everybody for like a year, I'll start watching The Expanse. I'll start watching The Expanse. So I just finally got around to starting watching The Expanse like earlier this week. And I got to get around to Punisher 2, man. I got to get around to Punisher 2. But thank you for reminding me. You know what? As soon as I'm caught up on, I think I've got like 4 more episodes to go on The Expanse. As soon as I'm done that, Punisher's next up on my list. So I got to get that one done. I still can't, for all the amount I was looking forward to that movie, I still can't believe I still haven't watched it. Chris Douglas writes, back at the gym, the John Campea Show reruns while doing cardio. I love hearing from people about the different ways in which they listen to the John Campea Show, whether it's they watch it in the gym or they listen to it at work or on their commute or when they go for their morning run or whatever. I'm just glad you guys are joining me and being fellow film fans. So I'm glad my sultry tones can pump you up to go out for your workouts, Chris. Anyway, Robert Johnson writes, anyway, shout out to Batman's 80th birthday tomorrow. Oh, that's right. I totally forgot. I remember we talked about that last week, that the 80th anniversary of Batman was coming out. Somebody had asked if we think we're going to get an announcement as to who is playing Batman to coincide with the 80th anniversary. Maybe. I got a feeling they won't, but I think it would be pretty cool if they did. Let's find out. All right. Jonathan Teft writes, did you see the new Western, The Kid, directed by Vincent D'Onofrio and stars Ethan Hawke, Dane DeHaan, and Chris Pratt? I thought it was pretty good, and I like seeing Pratt in a different kind of role. I didn't get around to seeing it. First of all, it was only playing in like one theater around me. Hold on a second. Let me just, The Kid. And I thought I remember seeing kind of mixed reviews about it. I'm not sure. Yeah, it got a 42%. So I remember I was thinking about running it. I'm still interested just because Vincent D'Onofrio directed it. Chris Pratt as a villain. How often do you get to see that? So I'm interested in it. I love Dane DeHaan. I love Ethan Hawke as a performer. But yeah, I just didn't get all that enthused about running out to see it. But I still should catch up on that. I really should, because you look at that lineup you're mentioning. D'Onofrio, Ethan Hawke, Dane DeHaan, Chris Pratt. I mean, these are some heavyweight things. I got a little bit of a soft spot in recent years, Jonathan, for Westerns. And so it looked really interesting, but then I heard an initial wave of not so good. And so I'm like, all right. So I've kind of been putting it off, but I'll probably wait for it to come on streaming. Let's see. You know, one of the great things, I should just bring this up quickly. One of my favorite things about working for myself and not having to report to anybody is that, you know, there was a time and an age where I just had to see everything. And it was exhausting. Like 3 or 4 nights. First of all, you're working all day, and then 3 or 4 nights a week, you got to drag yourself across Los Angeles, which can be like an hour and a half drive. Drag yourself across Los Angeles to watch a movie that you might not even be remotely in the least be interested in seeing. Get home at like 11 o'clock at night, blah, blah, blah. One of the great things about working for myself is I don't have to do that anymore. I see what I want to see and I skip what I want to skip, which is kind of nice. Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, have you ever seen Blood In, Blood Out? I honestly, Rufino, I don't even recognize the title. So no, I don't think I have. Maybe I have, but I don't think I have. Chris Douglas writes, thoughts on Lost, one of my favorite shows ever. Great show, horrible ending. Did not stick the ending. The last season, Yeah, a lot of people see where lost me was that one episode I talk about a lot where they explain the backstory of Jacob and the black smoke monster. That episode ruined Lost for me. Just ruined it for me. I didn't like a single thing about Lost after that episode. But everything before it was great. I quite enjoy it. It's not in my top 5 favorite shows of all time, but I was really into it. Like, I liked that show a lot. I thought that show was great. Patrick James Clark writes, do you have a favorite season of Smallville? Season 3 is probably my favorite one because season 3 to me, and not that everything that came after it was bad, but season 3 to me, it was far enough along that it really kind of found its identity. Like the first couple of seasons of a lot of a show's kind of finding its identity, right? To me, season 3 was that little area in which it came into really got its own identity and still had all the charm of its earliest incarnation, of its earliest vision of the show. You know what I mean? And I still like Smallville after that, even once they got into episodes season 6 and on. But there was something about season 3 to me that had kind of like the best of both worlds sort of thing. All right, Aaron H. writes, I got the key to not peeing during Endgame. Okay, this is about to be good. Drink 2 cups of coffee. By the way, I don't drink coffee. Everybody gets weirded out when I tell them, you know what's funny? I tell people I don't drink. And some people go, really? Because I'm Canadian, so you'd think I drink a lot of beer, but I actually hate beer. I don't like beer at all. And I don't drink any other alcohol, really, only because I don't like the taste of alcohol. That's all. Like every once in a while, if I'm being social, okay, I'll have a nice manly amaretto sour. Or if I'm at my grandparents', I'll have a glass of wine. But honestly, I don't enjoy it that much. So I don't drink. People look at me. People look at me even weirder when I tell them I don't drink coffee. Like, what? Like, how do you breathe? How do you function without coffee? But yeah, I don't drink coffee either. But anyway, during Endgame, drink 2 cups of coffee or any diuretic of your liking 60 minutes before the movie. Then 45 minutes later, you squeeze that lemon and you are prime for a good time. Sure. Here's the problem, though. As we're talking about, I'm hearing different reports of Endgame is 2 hours and 55, 3 hours and 2, or 3 hours and 4. I'm getting like all these reports saying, I just talked to my theater. My theater listened. They sent me a screenshot. My theater says 3 hours and 4 minutes. One says 3 hours and 2. One says 2 hours and not 55, 2 hours and 58 minutes. Whatever. That's all within 6 minutes of each other. It's the same thing. But like, how can you get through that without taking a bathroom break? Because here's one of my problems. My big problem, I have a mighty strong bladder, but I like having my soda and popcorn. I don't drink a lot of soda, but when I go to the theater, I like having a big old soda and a big old bag of popcorn. It's just part of my movie ritual. So with Endgame being 3 hours, roughly, now I got to sacrifice something. Do I sacrifice my beloved movie tradition and part of my movie-going habit of having a big soda and big bag of popcorn that helps me enjoy the movie? Do I have to give that up? Or do I just have to accept, you know what, about 2 hours in the movie, because I've been guzzling this huge thing of soda, about 2 hours into the movie, I'm probably going to have to get up and run to the bathroom and miss 2 or 3 minutes of the film. So it kind of sucks that it's putting me in that position. That I either got to give up something I love about going to the movies, or I got to give up 2 or 3 minutes of the movie. I don't want to do either. That's why I love the idea of an intermission. But unfortunately for me, I'm not but even if I was a coffee drinker and tried that, Aaron, it doesn't offset the thing that I'm going to have this 5-gallon thing of Coke Zero or whatever. And yeah, I got to give something up. It sucks. It sucks that I have to, but I'm going to have to make that choice. And you know what? I probably won't make that choice until I walk into the theater to watch the damn movie. I'm so excited for it. And by the way, I have found out when I'm watching Endgame. I can't say when, but I have found out when I'm watching it. But I'll let you guys know as soon as I'm allowed to let you know. Okay. Ben Esparza writes, in Captain Marvel, 4 Skrulls came to Earth. Talos, the scientist, the one who died looking like Coulson. Where did the 4th go, still wandering around? Let's say, so you had Talos, the scientist, the one who died looking like Coulson. Did the scientist not go? You know what? I gotta be careful because I don't want to go into spoilers thing here because I think I know what happened to them, but I can't say it because we got to be careful not going into spoiler stuff here. Yeah, actually, you just gave away a big spoiler, Brian, about the one who died looking like Coulson. So I will not give away any more spoilers, so I can't really address that. It's a good question, but not one I can address here right now. All right. Assorted Musings writes, best movie, worst movie topic, best, worst Will Ferrell. Oh, I can tell you right now that is one that's coming. That one's coming. As a matter of fact, we've been recording best movie, worst movie. For those of you who don't know, that's our new podcast. Let me, now that you've mentioned it, let me give it a plug here. Best movie, worst movie. I love this podcast. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm in it. But me, Cody Miller, and Robert Meyer Burnett, we have a new podcast called Best Movie, Worst Movie. It's on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app of choice. We've done 3 episodes so far. Those episodes are best and worst MCU films, best and worst 80s action films, and best and worst movies of 2012. Those are the 3 we've done so far. Have had a blast on those podcasts. Now, we have been recording them once every week. We get together. Rob comes over here. We use Discord to bring in Cody, who lives in Indiana. But we're actually going to, next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, after I get back from CinemaCon, Cody and his wonderful wife, Allie, are flying out to LA, and they're going to come stay with me and Ann here. And Friday night, they get in on Friday, and that Friday, we're going to go and see Shazam at the AMC Burbank 16. So if you're there and you see us, make sure you say hi. And then Saturday, Rob's coming over as well, and we're going to actually have the 3 of us in the same room, and we're going to record like the next 6 episodes of Best Movie, Worst Movie. And by the way, we're doing it in seasons. We're doing a 10-episode season 1. 10 episodes. Now, we're going to take a break for a number of months, and then we'll get around to doing season 2, if enough of you want a season 2 of the podcast. So we're doing 10 episodes in season 1, and we're going to record 6 episodes when he gets here. And then after we're done that, you guys know that Cody and his wife are Harry Potter fanatics. Like, they took their wedding pictures dressed in Harry Potter garb. I'm not kidding. So after we're done recording on Saturday, we're going to be done like around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. We're all then going to run over to Universal Studios Hollywood and go to Harry Potter Land, or the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, whatever they call it. So that's what we're doing. But anyway, I can tell you right now that one of the 6 episodes we are recording is the best and worst of Will Ferrell. So great minds, Assorted, great minds. All right. Brian Esparza writes, do you think we'll see Hank/Janet in Endgame? Ooh. Yes. Very briefly. My guess is very minor, just maybe for a minute. I'm going to guess yes. It seems to make sense that we would. I mean, maybe we won't, but I'm going to guess, and it's a vague guess. I'm going to guess yes, Brian. That's an interesting question. All right. Jeff Crow writes, saw Dumbo last night. Super gritty after seeing Casey Jr., The Train. Kept the story close with room to play like The Jungle Book did. Overall, thumbs up. I'm glad to hear that, because you're the second person today, Jeff, that said you liked it, which is good to hear, because again, I'm hearing mixed things about it. Some people thought it was quite charming. Some people thought it was quite boring. I don't know where I fall yet. Like I said, I was supposed to see the movie last night, but because Ann wasn't feeling well, we couldn't go. So I'll probably see it this week sometime. Well, I can't see it this week because I'm going to be at CinemaCon. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to see this damn movie, but it's good to hear that you liked it, Jeff, because you're like the second person today that said you did. All right, Chris Douglas writes, what's the one thing you admire about each other? I assume you mean me and Rob. One of the things, I don't know what Rob likes about me, but I can tell you, I love that Rob, I know a lot of people that have deep cut knowledge of the history of Hollywood, you know, that you can just bring up a movie from 1974 about, and he's, oh yeah, that one was directed by so-and-so, written by so-and-so, who also wrote this and this. Like, I appreciate that, but I know a number of people can do that. What I really appreciate about Robert is that he's a guy who can pull off those facts, but has this childlike joy about the movies coupled with that knowledge. You know what I mean? And it just makes him really fun. Like, we just love talking movies here. I kid you not, like, even when he and I are in a car together, that's all we're doing. We're just talking movies. We just love talking about movies because we both have this enthusiasm about it. And I really respect the fact that he's a guy who's got that deep knowledge and has maintained his childlike joy when it comes to the topic. I think that's rare. And it's one of the things that I really, really appreciate about Robert. I'm Upset writes, if Morbius is successful, will Leto return as Joker? One won't have anything to do with the other. Jared Leto's he's an Academy Award winner. He's an Academy Award winner. It doesn't get any bigger than that. So what if Morbius flops, it will have nothing to do with what happens with him in the DCEU. If Morbius becomes a $2 billion film, it won't affect anything that has to do with him in the DCEU. Yeah, it won't affect it one way or the other, to be honest with you. I am very curious to see this Morbius movie, though. I'm upset. All right. Kalis Menon writes, today is my birthday. Well, happy birthday, Kalis. And last week, I went to see To Kill a Mockingbird with Jeff Daniels. Is that a remake? I'm going to assume it's a stage show. It was great. Should I stay home and catch up on Game of Thrones or go see Us tonight? Well, honestly, I would say I don't love Us, but I think Us is quite good. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'd say go see Us. Because, everybody's talking about it. It'd be good to go see it and kind of get caught up on a little bit. Like, if you've already seen Game of Thrones, now, wait a minute. When you say catch up on Game of Thrones, like you haven't watched it all yet? Ooh. You still got time for Game of Thrones. I'd say go out and see Us. Go out and see Us and get caught up on Game of Thrones later. But and again, man, happy birthday. I hope you have a fabulous one, man, and thanks for sending that in. All right. Jonathan Teft writes, have you seen the trailer for Hotel Mumbai? Actually, we just talked about that on the John Campea companion video yesterday. It's about a terrorist attack in a hotel in India. It looks really good. Cast includes Dev Patel, Armie Hammer, Jason Isaacs, who I love, and Anupam Kher. I think it looks fabulous. And I really like Dev Patel. He's come a long way since, I was going to say Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but what's the Slumdog Millionaire? He's come a long way since Slumdog Millionaire. I really enjoy seeing him and stuff. And I'm a big fan. I like Armie Hammer a lot. And Jason Isaacs, I love Jason Isaacs. He was in that little show. I can't remember the name of it. Remember that show he was in a couple of years ago? It only lasted one season. But the show was, he's a cop, right? And he was in a car accident with his family, with his son and his wife. And his son died in the car accident. But when he goes to sleep and when he wakes up, the world is different. He lives in a reality where his son survived the car accident, but his wife didn't. And then when he goes to sleep and wakes up again, he's back in the other world where his son died, but not his wife. Then he goes to sleep, wakes up in the other world. I can't remember the name of it. I was fascinated by that show. I thought he was great in it. And then he was in Star Trek Discovery Season 1. I loved him in that. I really like him. So, yes, I'm very excited to see this movie. Here's the thing. It's in theaters now, but it kind of very quietly snuck into theaters. Like, it just almost invisibly came into theaters. So it was like yesterday or the day before, they're like, wait a minute, that movie's in theaters now? I got to get out to see this. I have to see this because I think it looks really great. Okay, where are we at here? Phoenix Arising writes, have you seen that Godspeed is going to be on The Flash Justice for the Filthy? I have not. I tend not to follow very closely. While I watch the Arrowverse stuff, I tend not to follow it closely like I follow movies and movie development. So I don't usually keep up to date with who's going to come in next season, who's leaving, what characters are they going to have, blah, blah, blah. But woo, another speedster. Yay. I don't know. I'm starting to get tired of it. I love this show, but I'm starting to get tired of that. Anyway, Charlie Rogers writes, one of two. To clarify yesterday's comments, I didn't mean to imply that I think Mortal Kombat movie is definite. I know tons of movies in production never happen. Just quoting the article, and words can get expensive. Thank you for the honest and pleasant discourse we have every day as movie fans. Have a wonderful weekend, sir. Hashtag justice for Han. Hashtag Han had it coming. Oh, no, that's totally cool. So for those of you who don't know what Charlie's talking about, Yesterday, he was writing in and asking about Mortal Kombat, and he quoted a quote from a particular website. And one of the things I said, because the website was talking as if the movie was happening, one of the things I said about a Mortal Kombat movie, which, you know, it made big headlines that James Wan signed on to produce it. I just kind of pointed out yesterday that keep in mind it has not been greenlit. That a lot of movies are in development that never actually happen. You know, out of every 10 movies that go into development, maybe 1 or 2 actually turn into a movie. And I kind of expressed my doubts that a Mortal Kombat would happen, but Charlie was just expressing that his passion and his joy around the Mortal Kombat franchise, he would like to see it happen. Hey, look, I'll be honest with you, I'd get a kick out of seeing it too. I would get a kick out of seeing another Mortal Kombat movie. But is it gonna happen? I don't know. Don't know about that. I'm not feeling all types of certainty about that. I still have my doubts. But like I said, Charlie, though, sign me up. If they do it, yeah, I'll be curious because it's Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat. I'd be totally into it. So thanks for sharing that, Charlie, and thanks for clarifying. All right. Sean Love writes, over under 5%, Cap and Tony bro hug it out. Only to moments later, Tony finds out Cap put coffee grounds in the disposal. Love, much love, guys. Yeah, there you go. And that leads, of course, to Civil War II. We all know Civil War II is coming. That's going to bro hug it out. I'm sorry. And then he comes. That's funny. I like that. Well thought out, Sean. Well thought out. All right. Syrian Douglas writes, have you heard about Hanks and Luhrmann Elvis biopic? Oh, you know what? What was I reading? I read, I think early this morning, like some kind of headline about Baz Luhrmann. And is that a Elvis biopic? Okay, I believe I saw headlines, but I didn't read much about it. But clearly, that's something that... Wait a minute, and Hanks was going to play the Colonel, right? Is that... Oh, maybe I did hear about it. Okay, I got to go and read more about it, Syrian. But thanks for putting that back on my radar, because I got to check that out. Okay. Jonathan Teft writes, Marvel fans, how am I going to make it through Endgame without needing to use the restroom? Lord of the Rings fans. First time, huh? But that was the same problem with Lord of the Rings. It was the same problem. I mean, we navigated it, but it did suck that every time I went to see Lord of the Rings, almost any of them, you had to just accept that I'm going to have to miss 2 or 3 minutes of the movie. And a lot of people did. There are a lot of... I still remember watching Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, at the Cineplex Silver City in Ancaster, Ontario, right connected to Hamilton. And once you got over the 2 hour and like 20-minute mark, more and more people started to get up to go. Like there were some smart people who planned in advance who were like, okay, at like 1 hour and 10 minutes, I'm going to run to the bathroom so I don't have to miss any of the second or third act. And they would do that. But like, as you get past like the 2 hour mark, 2:15, 2:20, 2:30, more and more people were going to the bathroom. It became a problem for all of us, but yep, it is I thought you were going to say, Lord of the Rings fans, hold my beer. There you go. That would have been perfect, Jonathan. Mark Blaza writes, Endgame also opens here in the Philippines on the 24th. We're in good company. Cannot wait. Yeah, Anne has been trying to get me, understandably, because Anne's still got a lot of family, and a lot of her family are in government. In the Philippines. Like Anne's dad or Anne's grandfather was like the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in the Philippines. He has high schools named after him and parks named after him. Her uncle is a governor there, and her aunt is in the Senate there. And her family is, Anne's family is very established in the Philippines. Anyway, and they keep telling me I gotta go over there. I've never visited, but I'll tell you what. If I wasn't already seeing Endgame before that, I would be tempted to go, hey, baby, how about we take that trip to the Philippines? I really want to meet your family over there. Really? That's why you want to go? Nope, I'm lying. I just want to go see Endgame early. Yeah, so there you go. Guys, remember, though, for those of you who are watching in countries like the Philippines or China or wherever you're going to get to see it before people see it here, please keep the spoilers off the internet. Don't go on and start talking about spoilers and stuff like that. Please reel it in, hold it tight until, the rest of the world gets to see it. All right. Jonathan Teft writes, I had a discussion with a friend. Was James Gunn ever officially fired at Marvel? And if he wasn't, how was he able to sign on to Suicide Squad 2? Wouldn't that break his contract with Marvel? Okay, let's be very clear here. No contracts can prohibit you from working with somebody else. No contracts can prohibit you from working with somebody else. So let's be clear about that. So he can have a contract to make Marvel movies, but he can still go and make movies with other people too. I mean, it's kind of like having an open relationship. Yeah, we're dating, but she's allowed to go out and date other people too. It's cool. Like, that's kind of what it is in Hollywood, right? Yes, he was officially let go and fired. He had a contract to do Guardians 3. They removed him from that, and he got what was reported a $10 million payout from Disney to get fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. She was like, okay, well, I got some free time now. Who wants to hire me? And then every single studio came running, offering him ridiculous offers. And he ultimately landed on going to DC and doing a Suicide Squad movie. And then Disney, when Disney and them worked it out, Disney came back to him and they worked it out. Now they got to sign him to a new contract. So James Gunn got $10 million to get fired from Guardians 3. And then he got to sign another new contract in which he's going to get paid again. This turned out very well for James Gunn. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure if you asked James Gunn, hey, would you give back that $10 million in exchange for not having to go through all the crap you had to go through the last 6 months, I'm sure he would trade it in a heartbeat. But $10 million helps cushion the blow a little bit. $10 million helps cushion the blow a bit. So yeah, he was I know there's this conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat nonsense out there that they never actually fired him. They did, and it cost them. It cost them $10 million. But they did fire him, but then they reconciled, brought him back, and there we go. Okay, I'm Upset writes, a random question, but can Kazam beat Thanos? I doubt it. By the way, I saw Kazam once ages ago. But I'm going to guess no. I do not think, like, Thanos is the most powerful being in the universe. With the Infinity Gauntlet, that includes Captain Marvel. But no, I'm going to guess no. Dan M. writes, do you think that Banner can't transform to Hulk because of Thanos? Or could it be something else entirely? I think the Hulk has a huge role in Endgame. Thoughts? Well, remember, in the director's commentary of Avengers Infinity War, the Russo brothers came out and specifically said, they told the story. Hulk, especially after getting his ass beat by Thanos, Hulk just had it. He said, that's enough. You don't get to hate on me and insult me and treat me like a pariah and then just call on me when you need your problems fixed. So Hulk had just kind of had it. So when Banner says, come on, you got to come out. No. And so the Russo brothers talked about that in their Infinity War director's commentary. I think we're going to have, I don't know if Hulk is going to play a big role in Endgame, but I think he's going to have at least a very significant moment. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I think at minimum, Hulk is going to have a big, significant moment. We'll have what brings that out. How do him and Banner resolve that difference and start functioning together? I don't know, but I think if he doesn't have a big role, I think he'll have at least a very big, significant moment in the film. We'll have to wait and see. Less than a week away, Dan. All right, Jonathan Teft. I hope Sunday we can get a Martian Manhunter movie. He's my favorite superhero. Does his appearance on Supergirl hurt his chances of getting a movie? I'll be very honest with you, Jonathan. I think Martian Manhunter is a lame superhero. That's just me. But I'm not here to kill on your buzz, though. If you like him, that's awesome. I'm sure there are superheroes I like that you don't like, so that's totally cool. There would have been a time that I would have said, yes, being on Supergirl diminishes the chances of a Martian Manhunter movie. However, the fact of the matter is we had Flash on TV, and then they put Flash in the movies. So, yeah, I think there's still whatever chance. Honestly, I don't think Martian Manhunter is one they should do. I don't think there's enough interest in the character. I frankly don't like the character, but I don't think the fact that he's on Supergirl reduces his chances. There would have been a time that I would have thought so. Not today. Not anymore. So let's see what happens with that. All right. Jordan Huxtable writes, do you think Beast in the MCU will be practical effects or CGI? CG works great for Hulk and Colossus. Could see Sabretooth on Apocalypse. Oh, Sabretooth and Apocalypse CGI too. Well, they've done Sabretooth twice. And both times he was practical. Of course, they were very different Sabretooths. You had your Tyler Mane Sabretooth in X-Men 1. Then you had your Liev Schreiber Sabretooth in X-Men Origins Wolverine. So we've had, and they were both practical, so you could do that. Beast. Well, they're doing Beast as a little bit of a mix. You know, Beast, I believe, is costume right now. I believe, until there's action going on, then they have to CGI. I'm not really sure how they would do him in the MCU. I'm going to guess CGI. There's just more you can do with him CGI, so I'm going to guess, and it's just a guess, Jordan. I'm going to guess CGI. All right. A spectator writes, work has been killing my soul. Please wish me well on my endeavor to find a better work environment. It would mean a lot. Thank you, John, for your podcasts. Have been helping me tremendously. Spectator, man, I feel you. But you know what? Here's the good thing. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine last year who was really not liking their job and they wanted to find a new job. But I said, you know, in the midst of doing that, and I know it's frustrating, but pause for a moment and think, you know what? I am in a great position. I get to look for a job while I have a job. That's awesome. That is a great position to be in, because there are a lot of people who are desperately looking for a job and they don't currently have one. To be in a position that you have a job right now while you get to look for another job, it's a good position to be in, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't want to get another job. Look, you got to be at your job 8, 9, 10 hours a day. It should be a place that you feel happy. I mean, I know I left my last job because I wasn't happy. So if you're not happy, you need to change jobs, but what a blessing that you get to enter into that phase while having a job. That's great. So I wish you the best luck in the world, Spectre. I know it can be a very frustrating situation to be in a job that you're not happy and you got to be in that environment and that it kind of kills your soul. I get that. I've had friends in that similar situation. So best on you, man. Hope you find something, but never forget to appreciate the fact that you get to look for a new job while having a job, because a lot of people kill to be in our situation, right? So, good luck, man. I hope you find something great. And thank you for listening to the show. And I'm glad it can help you through your days, man. It's always good to hear. All right. Jesse Keller writes, 3 hours, 2 minutes is official for Endgame. Check AMC again. Again, until Disney says what it is, it's different. Because again, I had screenshots sent to me from other people from a different movie theater chain saying 3 hours and 4 minutes. I've had screenshots sent to me by other people that said 2 hours, 58 minutes. Ultimately, the difference between all three of those is 6 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's going to be around 3 hours. Doesn't matter if it's 3 hours and 2, 3 hours and 4, 2 hours and 58. It's all the same, right? It's all the same. But I'm getting different numbers from different people. So until I hear Disney say what the official thing is, and it very well could be 3 hours and 2. Probably a good chance it's 3 hours and 2. But until I hear it from Disney, I'm not going to take anything as official. Not yet. All right. Chad's Big Huge Geek Commentary writes, in all the commotion about the Endgame runtime, the leak for the AMC Avengers 22 film marathon being Monday the 22nd also happened. Oh, I didn't hear anything about that. At least that wasn't going around when I was prepping for today's show. So I'll have to take a look at that because that's interesting. Whew, that's not just a marathon. That's a multi-day thing. Because you're talking about, you're needing 3 full days. 3 full days nonstop running around the clock with a little bit of buffer in between each movie. I got to see how they're planning on doing that. So I'll go look into that after we're done the show. Ramiro Duarte writes, but we're going to dance the dust right off them. Oh, God. Yeah, girl, got a little dirt on my boots. So the reason Ramiro is tormenting me with that is it comes from this story that I do not like country music at all. No offense to anybody who does. Awesome if you do. It's not for me. And I remember I was with a couple of friends who also don't like country music. We were in Vegas. It was me, Dorina Arlano, and Nathan Hamill. And we were in Vegas. And one night we were going out, and so we got a limo. And we got into this limo. It was one of those stretch SUV limos, right? And we get in, and there was this kid who was almost like a stereotype of a Western scrawny, kind of a hick kid. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Hick kid had a cowboy hat and kind of skinny and scrawny. It's like, hey. And we got in, and as soon as we got in, he started blaring the stereo to a song I had never heard before, a country music song with the most country music title I've ever heard, Dirt on My Boots. Dirt on my boots. And it felt like he had the song on replay, because it felt like the song was 25 minutes long. I feel like, and maybe I'm not remembering right, I feel like the entire 10-minute trip in this limo, that's all I heard was Dirt on My Boots. And so after that, me, Hamill, Orlando, whenever we would talk, it would just be Dirt on My Boots. And just there. So that's what Ramiro is tormenting me with. So thank you so much for that, Ramiro. Okay, Roman Bryant writes, you got to go home, man. Chills every time. You got to go home, man. I'm not recognizing that. I'm stumped on that one. Guys in the comment section, what is Roman talking about? Because he stumped me on that one. All right. John Jordan writes, and a really big super chat. Thank you, John, so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the channel that way, man. That's great. John Jordan writes, lots of rumors, or I think probably meant rumors. Lots of rumors that Captain America will die. I don't know, but if he does, I would like to think Marvel will send him out in a huge moment that will ripple across movie history and become a key moment of self-sacrifice for the greater good. Probably will. Now, here's my thing. And I've talked about this a lot. For years now, everybody has been prophesying the death of Captain America. When Winter Soldier was coming out, everybody was saying Captain America is going to die in this one. Captain America is going to die in this one. I said, he's not going to die in this one. And he didn't. Then Captain America Civil War came out. And everybody said, oh, he's going to die in Civil War. And I'd say, no, he's not. I'd say, oh, Campea, you clearly don't know anything about the comic books. You see, in the Civil War, in the comic books, Captain America dies at the end. It's like, I'm very well aware that in the comic books, Captain America dies at the end of Civil War on those steps of the courthouse. It ain't going to happen. He's not dying. And of course, he didn't. Then Avengers Infinity War came out, and everybody's like, oh, Captain America's going to die. Captain America's going to die. I'm like, guys, he is not going to die. If for no other reason than we already know he's going to be shooting Avengers 4. Oh, I'm telling you, he's going to die now. He's going to die now. And sure enough, he didn't die. Now, heading into Endgame, it's a little bit different. See, I still don't think Cap is going to die. But unlike all the other times, I think there's a very legitimate chance that he does. Really, upwards of like 45%. So that's a real legitimate chance. It's almost a coin toss. So I don't think he's going to die, but unlike all those other times, he very well could. Yeah, Cap, this time he very well could, but he may not. But my firm belief here is still this. If he dies, he ain't gone forever. He'll be back. Chris Evans as Captain America will be back. I don't know if it'll be in 2 years. I don't know if it'll be in 4 years. I don't know if it'll be in 6 years, but I firmly believe that if he dies in this movie, and I still don't think he will, but if he does, and he could, I think he's coming back. At some point, somewhere down the line. Because in the MCU, death schmeth. Nobody ever dies in the MCU. Okay. But if he does die, regardless of how long it takes for him to come back, if he does die, I gotta believe, John, that what you're suggesting is exactly what they will do. They will make a big deal out of it. A huge deal, an enormous deal. Now, maybe that's a little bit of my personal preferences coming in there, because like I've already said that, to me, Captain America is my favorite MCU character. He's been my favorite character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I gotta believe they will do that. So we'll watch for that. We'll keep our eyes on that. And I think you're absolutely right, John. I think this will ripple across the MCU. It'll be maybe the most memorable thing they've ever done. And I really hope they treat it that way, because I know the Russo brothers love Captain Marvel too. So let's see how that all plays out. Okay, let's move on here. Ike Didable writes, I'm sure I'm butchering however you meant that to be pronounced. Hey guys, if you like John Carpenter's music, may I recommend a series of soundtracks to an unexisting 80s slasher franchise called Terror by a band called Ancient Order of the Droids. It's on Spotify. Hey man, every once in a while we get these weird out of nowhere kind of recommendations, and they're often quite cool. This sounds like a cool one. Okay, so a soundtrack to an existing 80s slasher film. First of all, I've never heard of Terror, so I'm gonna have to look that up. By a band called Ancient Order of the Droids. Again, something I have never heard of, and it's on Spotify. Dude, I gotta look that up because it sounds so ridiculous it must be true. I gotta check that out. Thank you for the recommendation, man. I appreciate that. I'll check that out. All right. Tony writes, getting married soon in Mauritius, and I can't wait. It should be the time of our lives. Slight issue, Endgame releases while I'm there. No phone for me. Well, I mean, hey man, listen, nothing says I love you like I'm willing to skip Avengers Endgame opening weekend to marry you, lady. That's how much I love you. Ladies, find yourself a guy like Tony who loves you so much they would skip out on the opening weekend of Avengers Endgame to marry you. That's the man you want to find. That's the guy you got to find. So I hope your wife appreciates the sacrifice. And yes, dude, keep your phone off you. Don't go online. If you have to go online to book plane tickets or something, kind of keep your eyes like this, making sure nothing's coming up that you don't want to see, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to keep spoilers for this offline before the movie comes out. But oh my God, once the movie's out and it's public, whew, yeah, it's going to be tough, man. So my hat's off to you, sir. That's some dedication. And, but yeah, keep your phone away from you. Tell your wife to keep them until you can get back home and see Endgame. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. But congratulations on the upcoming nuptials, man. All right, PJ Barnes writes, choose one to come to fruition. Gambit/New Mutants. Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one, because those two are close. You know what? I love the notion of a horror superhero movie. I really like the trailer for New Mutants. So I would like to see both of these films. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to pick New Mutants, just because I love the fact that they were trying something totally different than what we traditionally get in superhero comic book movies. And I respect that, and I want to see it. So I'm going to go New Mutants. I don't think we're going to see it in theaters, but it'd be great to. Brett Brooks writes, could Superman defeat Zod with with eggs and ketchup? I don't know, but I know he could certainly defeat me with eggs and ketchup. I'd yield right now. Enough. I would definitely yield right away. Maurice Seifring writes, congrats on 160,000 subscribers. Wait a minute, did I hit 160,000 subscribers? I'll say, let me check. Did we hit oh, yeah, look at that. 160,154. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that we crossed the 150,000 mark. So another 10,000 people subscribed. Guys, first of all, Marie, thank you for pointing that out. I didn't even realize we'd crossed that. Thank you to everybody, to all you guys who are subscribers to the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click the subscribe button. I'm floored. Look, I'll just take a second for this. When I started up, I simply didn't know. I didn't know that I'd be able to make it work, right? Going off, and you look, I had just built this other thing for like 6 or 7 years, and I didn't know if I would, if I'd be able to do it again, and, doing it on my own and all that kind of stuff. But here we are, and it's thanks to you guys. So thank you, Marie, for pointing that out, and thank you to all of you for supporting me, my channel, and making this this thing of mine a reality. So thank you to everybody. Thank you very much. And yay, 160,000 subscribers. Awesome. Luke Blackwell writes, Woodley versus Lawler set for rematch. Your thoughts? Man, I don't know. First of all, I thought Lawler won, like he had that last fight won, and clearly he didn't submit when the ref stopped the fight. So whatever. But I don't know, man. He looked helpless against Woodley the first time around. So I like both these guys. I like Lawler a little bit more. I'll be cheering for him. He's a little bit of a fan favorite for me. But I honestly don't see why the second fight with Woodley is going to go any different. I really don't. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting fight to watch. Brett Brooks writes, favorite popcorn topping? Mine's jalapeno. Only one. There is only one popcorn topping, and that is butter. That's it. I don't like anything spicy. I can't eat any spicy food whatsoever. It just kills me. So definitely not jalapeno. But yeah, butter, that's it. I don't like anything. Don't get me wrong, I like cheddar popcorn too. I like caramel corn. But as far as getting some popcorn and putting a topping on it, there was only one. Butter. All right. ZOMG Ruler writes, if Justice League 2 ever gets made, I think Shazam should join. I think that kind of goes without saying. I think if they ever get around to it, I think Shazam is going to be because I've seen the movie, it is going to be a beloved character in the DCU. I think people are going to like it and love him and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a foregone conclusion they will. But how long we got to wait for that Justice League 2 is anybody's guess. 3 years, 5 years, maybe more. But I'm sure Shazam will be a part of it when they do get around to it. All right, Chocolate Thunder writes, what are the rules about talking about pre-screenings after the movie is released? What about behind-the-scenes info that didn't make the movie? It all depends, Chocolate. If you're an average fan and you bought tickets to go to an advanced screening, you can talk about it immediately. I mean, you paid to go to it, you can talk about it. If you're press, sometimes you can talk about it right away, but they will let you know if you're press that there is an embargo in place. And you got to respect the embargo if you're press. But if you're just talking about pre-screenings that you bought tickets to and you went out to see, you can talk about it right away. You bought the tickets. Like if we're talking about the Shazam screening, yeah, man, that was public screening. You could buy tickets to that. You bought a ticket. You paid to be there. If you want to talk about the movie, you can talk about the movie. James Dixon writes, John, I was wondering if you've seen a film in another country. I know the US, you like to cheer and clap, but in the UK, we like silence. Thoughts? Woo! I've never watched a movie in any country other than Canada or the US. I've never seen a movie in another country. And every country has its own culture. But man, when I'm watching a movie, to me it's like watching sports. If there's a moment to cheer, I cheer. If there's a moment to laugh, I laugh. If there's a moment to gasp, I gasp. I guess the note for me, I would want to be respectful, of course. But I think then I've never visited the UK, I'd love to. But I guess the lesson for me here is if I ever visit the UK, don't go to the movies because I would probably just end up offending people and I wouldn't want to do that. So no, that's interesting. But I have been hearing more and more of that from people, like people from UK writing to me when we talk about standing ovation at the end of this movie or that movie, and people from the UK write to me and say, really? We don't do that here. And I would want to be totally respectful of that. So I would probably just, because I'm a reactioner when I'm in my movies. Some exciting happens, I go, yeah, like I get into the movie, you know? So I would probably have to skip that. But thank you for sharing that, James. It is really neat to see how, even as movie-going audiences, we differ from place to place. That's always interesting to hear about. All right, just a time for a couple more, guys, then I got to wrap it up. Matt Phillips Reviews writes, how many post-credit scenes do you think Endgame will have, and how many will foreshadow the next big MCU event? I'm guessing 2 post-credit scenes, and I'm guessing neither of them will foreshadow big events. I think one post-credit scene will lead into Spider-Man Homecoming or Spider-Man Far From Home. And then I think one will just be a funny one. Because, you know, it seems like every MCU movie will have just a funny one. Like in Thor Ragnarok, the Grand Master coming out saying, yay, well done everybody for the revolution. It was a great success. You know, that was just funny, right? They've done those in a lot of films. So I think there's going to be 2. I think one will be Spider-Man Far From Home and one will be just a funny one. So, but I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I'm just randomly guessing, but that's my guess. That's my guess at this point. The Mono Report writes, the Hellboy review embargo is lifting April 10th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Is it time to sound the alarm bells on Hellboy? Okay, if that's true, hold on a second. So the movie comes out 2 days later on the 12th. Well, and so when a movie comes out on the 12th, that really means it opens Thursday the 11th. So you're talking about a review embargo lifting just 1 day before the movie comes out. Look, that doesn't always mean Armageddon, but it's never a good sign. It's never a good sign. So, look, I have not heard that that's the official review embargo lift date. I'll look into that. But if it is, it's concerning. I'll say that. It's at least concerning if that's the case. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Alan Gonzalez writes, where do you get insider information? I can't tell you that, can I? I obviously can't tell you that, Alan. And he say, Chocolate Thunder writes, are there any actors you think could prove their talent, stretch their acting legs in a ridiculous role in a comedic movie like Goldblum as Grandmaster? Any good actor. Any good actor. Like, it's a really good actor can take on any kind of character. And in both, that's why I've always the greatest actor of all time to me is Daniel Day-Lewis, but I've never seen him do a straight up comedy. And that's why I've always been fascinated to see him do like a straight up comedy. But I mean, Goldblum as Grandmaster, that wasn't him stretching his legs. That was Goldblum being Goldblum. And it was awesome and it was great, but let's not pretend like that was some kind of big stretch for Jeff Goldblum doing that role. But yeah, I think there are a lot of actors. I think, look, characters like that provide opportunities. And I think a lot of different actors, if they have talent, can kind of grab on those opportunities and make the best of them. Okay, Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, chances Luis will inform Ant-Man on what happened after the snap. It would be funny, hope Luis survives. Thanks, John. Enjoy your Friday, my friend. You know, that's another character that did not appear on either the Alive Avenge the Fallen posters or the Dead Avenge the Fallen posters. I mean, come on. Where's Luis? Is he dusted? Is he alive? Where's Luis? He's a fan favorite, but nope. They just decided never to tell us one thing about where he might be or where he might be. So I'm guessing he's not around. So my guess is Luis will not be explaining to Scott what happened post-snap, because I'm guessing he got dusted. That's my guess. I don't know that for sure, but it's just my guess. Let's see. Carlos Sosa writes, will you be checking out Star Wars Land this year? Yep. Ann and I have already booked rooms at the Disneyland Hotel, because you have to book a room at the Disneyland Hotel to guarantee yourself entrance into the park. So we've already booked our hotels, and we are going to be going to see that. Absolutely. Okay. Final question of the day comes to us from Melvin Rosa, who writes, first, I'll thank you for taking the time to answer our questions. Hey, man, it's my privilege. Thank you very much. Watched Captain Marvel again, and I liked it more the second time around. Lots of info in it about the beginnings of the Avengers. See, without going into details here, Melvin, which we shouldn't do quite yet, one of the first things I said coming out of the Captain Marvel is, this is a movie that connects a lot of dots. And when I saw it for the second time, I recognized even more dots that it was connecting. It's still a film to me, like when people would ask me, do I need to see Captain Marvel in order to go in and watch Endgame? I still believe the answer to that question is no. I don't think you have to see Captain Marvel in order to be able to go in and watch Endgame. I think you're okay. But from a purely interest point of view, it does connect a lot of dots in the MCU. I won't go into what those dots are right now. Obviously, that would be a spoiler, but I'm in agreement with you. Like the way you put it, the second time around, lots of info in it about the beginnings of Avengers, not just the Avengers movie itself, but all the different things within the Avengers movies and all the different things within the MCU. And I also agree with you that my second screening of Captain Marvel, I even enjoyed more. Like, I've said this before, I don't think Captain Marvel is the top shelf MCU film, like Captain America Winter Soldier, like Infinity War, like Avengers. I don't think it's top shelf MCU, but I think it's that next shelf down that's very, very good, where movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Black Panther, like really good films like that. I think Captain Marvel fits in well with those, but I did like it the second time around even a little bit more. So thank you, Melvin, for sending in. And that's a generous super chat, by the way. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and to all you guys for sending in super chats, supporting the channel. Melvin, that's a really generous one. Okay, so for everybody from Mad1306, Zachary Buckler, and on and on and on. Hold on a second. Where are we? How far down do we have to go? So everybody from questions all the way down, Brush and Ryu Cat, Brett Brooks, Fred, Dan M, Drew P, do not worry. This weekend, I'm going to be making a companion video to answer all the questions that you guys sent in, because you sent in these questions. I'm going to make sure they get answered in a video. It'll be in a companion video this weekend. But I've run out of time for now. We've gone, oh my God, almost an hour and 50 minutes already. So it's time for us to wrap up today's installment of the John Campea Show. Guys, thank you so much for being here and being a part of the show. I have a great time talking movies with you guys. Don't forget, we're going to have open mic this weekend as well. Make sure you come on back and talk to us then. Of course, we got a companion video, lots of stuff going on, and then we'll be back again for the John Campea Show on Monday, except we're not going to be in studio. We're going to be in Las Vegas. So you're going to be seeing us do the John Campea Show from a little webcam in my crammed little hotel room in Las Vegas. Me and Robert will be going there going, we're in Vegas. So make sure you come back and join us for that as well. Okay, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Thanks so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.